I'm going to open this meeting. It's 6:02. It's nice to see all of you here. I love public comment, so welcome everybody. We do not have anything to discuss from closed session. So we're going to go through. I'm going to read the announcement. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. And we have, who's doing the pledge and Matthew Turner students, welcome. I don't have your names. I'm so sorry. Georgina?
They'll be up again, so you'll be able to know their names when they do their highlights.
Okay, so if those that are doing the pledge and the mission statement, if you would come up and. Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our vision. We are an inclusive community that cultivates an equitable and responsive environment, empowering all students to develop strong character and academic excellence to become well-rounded and engaged global citizens.
Our mission. In partnership with students, families, staff, and the community, we are committed to inclusive community, respecting diversity and nurturing a safe and equitable environment.
Empowered students being responsive to student needs and voices while fostering the passion for learning, collaboration, and individual expression needed to reach their future ambitions.
Academic excellence, supporting the retaining and caring and well-trained staff who promote critical thinking, critical and technology literacy by ensuring rigorous and innovative programs.
Academic excellence, supporting and retaining a caring and well-trained staff who promote critical thinking, cultural and technological literacy by ensuring rigorous and innovative programs.
Well-rounded and global citizens, offering relevant learning opportunities to help build a sustainable future.
Why is STEAM Week important? STEAM helps us learn. Oh, wait.
Nicely done. And we come to item number 7, approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Sorry, let me catch up with you. I just got the phone part. All those in favor?
Aye.
And our highlight tonight.
I'd like to introduce Principal Stephen Slater to introduce our highlight tonight from Matthew Turner Elementary School.
Thank you, President Grubbs, Superintendent Calabrese, our members of our board and our cabinet. We're very happy here to be here tonight to share the highlight on STEAM Week and STEAM Night, which is near and dear to our hearts, and it's a big community effort that our families, that our staff, and members of our community put in to make this great. We had the Pettit family, Veronica and Jim, who led STEAM Week and Night and really did a fantastic job with everything. So with that, I am going to hand this off to our wonderful team that is here to share STEAM Week and STEAM Night. Thank you. Yes, we have. Can I see this? Okay. We have Zane Paz. Come on up. Kareem Mohammed. Logan Ponder. Avani Sahota. And Juliet Laterno.
Why is STEAM Week important? STEAM helps us learn how to think, not just memorize. Through science experiments, building projects, art, and technology, we practice problem solving, creativity, and critical thinking. STEAM makes learning exciting and fun. Hands-on projects help us visualize how math, science, and art connect to the real world, which keeps us curious learners. STEAM prepares us for the future. It helps us discover our interests, work as a team, and build skills that will be important for the future careers and being innovative members of our community.
Assemblies and presentations from Matthew Turner Elementary parents. What do you think? STEAM stands for science, engineering, tech, also math, and art. So fun. Hands-on STEAM Discovery Festival with Lawrence Hall of Science, STEAM-themed classrooms, activities with our buddies, too. Diorama and building challenges, Piper computer, kits, Lego Spike Kit, and so much more. My favorite part of STEAM was RC cars because everyone was able to interact with the cars.
Our special guests. On STEAM Week, we had the Benicia Fire Department, who showed us some of their equipment, the RPP hobby with the RC cars, a ham radio. He showed us what his radio did and how it worked. The Lawrence Hall of Science, we did many activities, including straw rockets and magnetile building, and the Alva constructors. At STEAM Night, we have Cal Maritime College students who showed us some of their equipment, Lindsay Wildlife Museum, who brought a Madagascar hissing cockroach for us to see, and Brickspace, who let us experience the engineering. This is a map of STEAM Night and the rooms that we had different activities in.
Family STEAM Night. STEAM Night brings families in our community together to explore and learn side by side.
The volunteers from Benicia High and BMS are MT families, Cal Maritime, and Alva contractors.
It was awesome seeing our scholars work with their families on the many different projects.
This creates an everlasting experience for our families and scholars. What we did at STEAM Night and some of our favorites. Some of our favorites were Brickspace, Bubbleology, EvoBots, and Oobleck and Slime. I really enjoyed the Oobleck and Slime because it was a fun hands-on experience with the high schoolers, and our parents would not let us do it at home.
We also did tinkering, light-up, Tetris, collage art, and 3D printing. My favorite was the tinkering because it let me use my creative mind to build things.
Thank you so much for your time. Go Dolphins.
Thank you so much. That was great. That was great. Oh, yeah. Now we come to item number 9, our student reports. Frida, thank you.
Hi, my name is Frida, and I represent Liberty High for student reports. Good evening, President Grubbs, Superintendent Calabrese, and fellow trustees and cabinet members. We would like to welcome everyone back from our President's Day break. There is so much to celebrate on campus right now. We are officially diving into Black History Month, ringing in the lunar year, and recognizing the beginning of Ramadan. We are very busy with our Learning Through Interest program. Yesterday, we visited the Nimbus Fish Hatchery. We learned that many fish populations have been decimated by habitat loss, pollution, overfishing, or dam construction. This hatchery helps jumpstart these populations. We are visiting truck driving school in Vallejo. This is a part of many students' LTI projects, Learning Through Interests. Those that are interested in pursuing a career in transportation in automotive repair will attend. We are also promoting Girls on the Rise, a Solana Court event for teen girls to meet women leaders in the legal, medical, and skilled trade fields. We are planning a career day in March. We have several guest speakers scheduled to come, including people such as the Benicia Fire Department, an eyelash technician, a construction company, and BUSD's own Nurse DeLello. We are going to be practicing mock interviews as well as updating resumes. We are excited to be heading back to Palisades for our next snowboarding trip. After our last run, we are thrilled to have tons of new snow. However, it has been delayed because there is too much snow. There was no snow in that, and there was too much. A huge thank you to Mr. Nelson for all the hard work he put into organizing this for us. On behalf of Liberty High, thank you.
Hello, President Grubb, Superintendent Calabrese, fellow trustees and cabinet members. Before I start, I'd like to say, unfortunately, Caroline could not be here today, and she had the physical report. So all of this is off the top of my head. Okay, so in the past weeks, Benicia High began our spring sports with some starting previously and some, such as track, starting today. Recently, we've also begun working on our committees in student government. So this week, we've begun working on things like March Madness, Panther Passport Week, which is going to take place in March, where we celebrate a different country from each continent of the world each day of the week. This year, we are doing, I believe, China, Uruguay. Yeah, I don't have all the countries, but we're doing, and we're also going to have food from each of those countries in celebration of their culture and heritage. Prom tickets go on sale Monday. The theme and location has been announced. It's the Chabot Space and Science Center. Very beautiful. The food is going to be great. We're also planning our blood drive right now, which is going to take place in the upcoming weeks. Student staff basketball game as well as staff appreciation week in order to help bring students and staff together and support our staff. In addition to this, yesterday the BHS speech and debate team had we participated in the Lions Club speech competition with myself, my co-captain on the debate team, and another participant offering speeches on why youth mental health is important to value. And tomorrow we have another improv show at 7 in the PAB. It's a musical improvisation show, and I'm very excited to go. In the upcoming weeks, we have March Madness next week again, which will consist of dodgeball. And in order to celebrate Black History Month, our Black Student Union is hosting their own Spirit Week next week with different activities in the quad every day next week to celebrate some of our African American icons in this country. Yeah, on behalf of Benicia High School, thank you.
Thank you. And now we come to our superintendent's report.
Yeah, good evening, board, and good evening, families. Normally at this time, when I do a superintendent's report, I do a slide deck and talk about what's happening out in the district and the places I've been, the classrooms I've been in, and the work that's happening out there. But I just want to address this crowd tonight as you're here because of the budget reductions. And so the last thing I want to do as a new superintendent coming into a district is make a proposal of $1.7 million in cuts. And I'm going to get on the soapbox a little bit tonight. And you're frustrated, and you should be. And every one of these reductions are going to impact people and kids. There's no doubt about that. And I know that oftentimes superintendents say things like, we want to keep them as far away from the classroom, and certainly we do. And but sometimes that is either not possible or the work that is done elsewhere does impact kids. And it's the situation that we have in the state of California. I don't know if folks have been looking at the newspapers and what's happening, but when Oakland School District is cutting $100 million, when Martinez is cutting $2 million, when Antioch School District is cutting $33 million, when Livermore went from $7 million to $14 million in cuts in just 3 weeks. This is impactful. This is happening throughout our state. Our governor's made a decision to take $5.6 billion that was promised to schools in the state of California underneath Prop 98 and shift it. And, I'm going to be really direct here. It's called a shell game, and you move that money off, and we don't know when we'll see those monies in the state of California, and we don't know how they'll come to us. They also talked to us about one-time monies. There was a time in this state where we didn't have one-time monies. We had Title IXs and things like that, title monies and one-time money, categorical monies. And the Governor Brown did away with that, and now they've come back. And these one-time monies are really hard to staff people with because they're one-time monies. And you wind up doing layoffs, and then you don't know what that money is going to look like. So what I mean by that is come July or June, decisions are made and at the state level, and one-time monies may come to us. We don't know in what form. We don't know what the restrictions are around that. And so they're hugely impactful. This board voted just a month ago as we came to an end of the COVID monies that had come to us over a several-year period. And so some decisions were made as those monies ran out to eliminate those positions. And by all means, we would love to continue with them. But because of the state of where we're at as a district, we can't. And on top of that, as unique to Benicia, is the fact that the Vallejo School District is tighten up the restrictions on inter-district transfers. And we have many inter-district transfers in our school district. And so we're projecting 189 less students than we had last year. And so when I don't like putting numbers on students, but that's about $12,000 per student. And that will have a tremendous impact to us. That number, at best, is a projection. We don't know whether that's going to hold or not. We don't know if more students that number will increase or decrease. And so I want you to know that I'm listening. I recognize your frustration. I am equally as frustrated. And I will take notes tonight, and I will do my best to follow up with each and every one of you if that's what's required. But I also want to ask you to please join us in taking this energy and call your assembly person and call your state senator. This is the government teacher in me, so forgive me. And write to the governor of the state and tell them that Prop 98 that you passed needs to be upheld. And that $5.4 billion, $5.6 billion needs to go to the schools. That was promised to us and that the voters voted for. And this challenge, we've seen it time and time again. And I've been in education long enough to see this pendulum swing of and it's such a contradiction. You have all sorts of monies for after-school program, but you have no monies for a program during the day. And someone called me out in an email about why are we building fields? Yeah, I get it. That's a bond issue, right? We can't fund programs in the school day with bond monies, right? And part of that is we're trying to move our Title IX baseball field, softball field to have equal facilities, and because Mary Farmer Elementary School deserves some new classrooms, right? And we're building, and at the same time we're making cuts. And it feels like such a contradiction, right? And it feels incredibly unfair. And so I want you to know that I'm here to fight for our students Someone asked me yesterday, Mrs. Holgan from Rotary, if I've settled into my job. And the day I settle into my job is the day that this board should let me go. I don't believe in anything settling for. And so I will continue to fight for Benicia, and I'll continue to fight for you. It makes me exceedingly uncomfortable to come here tonight and propose $1.7 million in cuts, but it's necessary. And so I just want you all to know that. I don't settle, but I did say that this place is feeling more and more like home, and this district's important to me, and so are your students. And I just want you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we come to board reports. Would anybody like to, somebody?
I don't have any this week. I have one.
Okay.
I attended the Valero CAP meeting yesterday. The CAP is the Community Advisory Panel, and I'm there as a representative of the board. And I learned a lot of new information. It was a very active meeting. The CAP is made up of Valero representatives as well as community representatives. And the purpose is to share with Valero concerns of the community, and for Valero to share with us, the community, things that are going on and anything we need to be aware of, recent events. So yesterday I did get an update on the status of the Valero closure. They are about 2/3 of the way through that closure process. I could tell you all about refining at this point. I won't. I will tell you that they are focused on the blending aspect of refining, which is the final phase. They've got a fair number of employees still there, 350 out of 400. They have 600 contractors, and everybody is working on cleaning all of the equipment that we see as we drive by. And they're cleaning it and they're preserving it. We don't know what the plan is necessarily, but we do know that Valero will be operating as a fuel terminal, which means it will be a holding, the big tanks that you see will be holding gasoline. Those will come in, it'll be stored, and then Valero will be shipping it out through pipes. There were a lot of questions about safety. Valero emphasized that they operate terminals all around the country. They have to comply with regulations. But there wasn't very much information about what's that going to look like in Benicia, how long will it be operating as a terminal, what are the future plans. So the CAP has actually scheduled a special meeting in March to get more information. So it was probably one of the most productive CAP meetings I had attended. That's my update.
Thank you. I attended a meeting with Superintendent Calabrese at the city. The city's, it was kind of like the state of the city. What did they call it?
Future of Benicia.
The future of Benicia. So they have a lot of plans in place. They are also looking at a decrease in our population and how that affects our tax base. There wasn't a lot of specifics, but it was interesting to be there and interesting to hear. So that's all I have. So now we're coming to item number 10. Comments from the public. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available at the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call all the open session general comments, Government Code 54954.3, during the public comment items. Comments for items on the agenda will be called for the specific item, such as if you're here for 13F, then your comments will be heard at that time when we get to that agenda item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, and the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes per item with the timer displayed on the monitors. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment period, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the board meeting. Thank you. So as it stands right now, I have one card for item number 10. The rest are for items 13F and 13E, correct? Okay, so Anara Arjun. Oh, please come and join us at the podium. Hi. Oh, the podium's right there. And the microphone moves.
I want to make sure that you're able to come over here so that they can see you.
It's fine.
You shouldn't cut back the school librarian's time in the library because then they may not have time to help us find books in the library that we're looking for, or sometimes it won't leave time for the activities we do in library. And it would take out all the fun in library time, so you shouldn't cut back the librarian's time.
Thank you, Honora. Good job. Okay, now we come to item number 11. Approval of the consent calendar. Background information on these items is provided to the board prior to the meeting. A common motion takes action without discussion or on roll call votes unless discussion of items is requested by the board members. So, is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the consent calendar as written.
I'll second. And this requires a roll call. So President Grubbs,
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli, and Trustee Manassi.
And then we have approval of resolution number 25-26-33, declaration of obsolete items from Benicia Middle School.
That is from the same motion, and so the roll call goes President Grubbs,
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli, and Trustee Manassi.
Yes.
Thank you.
And number 12, we don't have a number 12. So we come to number 13, action items, and we have Mr. Calabrese up first for consideration adoption of the recommended California School Board Association CSBA board packet for January 2026 special update packet.
Yeah, these are the board policies that have been brought before you and been reviewed by committee in January, and so we're bringing back those two for a vote tonight.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the California School Board Association board policy. Do I need to say the number? Is that good?
I don't think you need to.
Okay. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed. Thank you.
And item 13B, consideration and approval of the 2026 California School Board Association Delegate Assembly election vote.
Yes, so this is the CSBA Delegate Assembly, as you said, and bring it before you for a vote that we do every 2 years here.
I had a question on this because I was getting confused about when we voted for everybody. So I think we're subregion 3C, Solano, if you look at the second attachment. And then there's Jack Flynn. I know we voted on Jack last year.
Yes.
So I think he's got a 2-year term, right? So the only person who's up would be Amy Sharp, I think. It's not clear.
Because
based on what
Helen,
they said.
it looks
I
like,
attached the letter with the explanation of phone number because it was not clear to me either. But it said that you had one person to vote for, so it gave you the 3 anyway.
No.
but it does look like it's Amy.
So if we vote for one person, my vote would be Jack.
Well, but his term isn't up until 2027.
So Amy's is the only one to vote for.
But you're able to still select him.
Oh, okay. My choice would be Jack as well, but
Okay. Yeah, whatever you guys want to, I'm fine. I like either one, yeah.
I move that we vote for Jack Flynn for the CSBA Delegate Assembly.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, consideration, let's see, we were at 13C. Consideration and approval of the comprehensive site and district safety plans. Dr. Ovick. Welcome.
All right. Good evening, President Grubbs, Governing Board, and Superintendent Calabrese. Dr. John Ovick, Director of Student Services. And this evening, I'm going to present the Benicia Unified School District Comprehensive School Safety Plans. All right. First things first, you'll see I have Benicia Middle School's new logo. Wanted to highlight that. Okay, you can go to the next one. So part of this presentation annually is to update you on changes to the plan. There were several changes this year, and I want to highlight just a few of them. We updated some of the terminology for our emergency plan. We updated lockout to secure perimeter. There was confusion around that prior. We updated active shooter to active threat. We updated board policies that needed to be updated. We added notification of immigration enforcement presence on school sites. And then we also changed the terminology student with a gun to human with a gun. And we changed non-human threat to bomb or device. So I wanted to talk about the process of this. First thing I want to say is that the plan at each school has tight and loose. What that means is there are some things about the plan that are tight across the district. There are other things that are loose, like the history of the school, their evacuation map, things that they update their enrollment information, and also student discipline. So that's the loose that the school is responsible for taking care of. I take care of all the tight, all the big stuff, or the other things. I shouldn't say big stuff. It's all big. It's all important. So it requires a yearly update and board approval by March 1st. The reviewed template and updates, we went over that with site administrators. Site administrators work with staff and their school site council to update their own plans. We review content of each site's plan with the Benicia Police Department and the Benicia Fire Department. Some of those terminology changes I went over just a few minutes ago were from that collaboration with our local fire department and police department. Because we know if there is an emergency, 99% of the time, they'll be the ones sort of calling the shots, telling us what to do. So we want to make sure that we are in line with them as far as that terminology. We implemented feedback received from the fire department and police department. The police department trained all district administrators on emergency alerts and active threat protocols. We're currently in the process of doing a collaborative site safety walk with the Benicia Police Department at each of our school sites, including Liberty and the district office. And we plan to set up trainings with the police department for site staffs at future staff meetings. All right, so safety plan disclosure. There is a California Ed Code and also California state law around the disclosure of our safety plans. Safety and security restrictions. Plans developed collaboratively with staff in the school site council. Specific lockdown procedures are not disclosed to prevent this information from going public and potentially creating a safety breach. This includes emergency routes, places where we go and we evacuate. Those are things that could potentially be a safety breach. Public inspection rights. We do have hard copies of parts of the plan available for the public at school sites for the public to view. Only the parts of the plan that contain non-sensitive information, non-confidential emergency protocols can be viewed or shared. Communication. In the event of an emergency, staff will follow developed protocols for communication using Parent Square. The communication will include expectations regarding next steps and protocols if students need to be picked up. The law that I quickly talked about at the beginning seeks a balance between community awareness and the safety procedures and the security necessity of keeping specific emergency protocols confidential. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer those.
Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions, but to say, thank you for doing this.
Yes.
I know that this is a lot of work, and it's hard to hear a lot of those words that you say out loud about lockdown, and appreciate the work that you do and everybody at our sites in preparation and make sure that they're taking care of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ovick.
Yeah, let me echo that Dr. Ovick has worked with PD and with our fire department to make these changes and took their advice and then has trained staff. And so thank you for your work on this. Really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we come to, I'm sorry. So, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the comprehensive site and district safety plans.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we come to item number 13D, consideration and approval of resolution number 25-26-30 for the 2026-2027 constitutional advance for Benicia Unified School District. Ms. Barrington.
Good evening, President Grubbs and trustees. So annually, we are able to request an advance of our property taxes up to 85% to be deposited in our fund on July 1st. These are not extra monies, it's just fronting the money for the district that allows us to be able to pay our bills in the manner that they come in outside of how our revenues are actually transferred to us. So our state revenues come in at certain percentages that are greater after the first tax collection. Our federal revenues typically come in a year after, but our expenditures happen regardless of when our revenue comes in. So this is a benefit that the County of Solano has for our districts, and as property taxes are collected, they take the advance back in two payments, one in December and then one in April. So when they give us our property taxes, they take back what we owe them.
Okay, any questions?
I'll move that we approve resolution number 252630.
I'll second.
No problem. So,
I made the motion.
And I second.
Okay. And this is a roll call vote, so President Grubbs?
yes.
Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Manasi?
Yes.
Thank you.
So a couple of comment cards have come in for item number 10.
There's another for 10 that just came in.
So,
And then this is for the one that just happened, the safety plan.
okay, so I'm going to go ahead and backtrack to public comment. And our first one is Mika. I don't have your last name, but if you'd like to come up and speak.
I strongly believe that our library time should be the same amount of time because it's not just a place for books, it's for research, reading, and academic skills.
Thank you, Mika. Good job. And then we have Michaela Fernandez.
I think that you shouldn't take away our library hours because we need our library because we go there when we need help to learn. Like when I did my wax museum, I went to the library to search about Maya Angelou, and our librarian, Miss Jump, she's really nice and she really helped me learn, and I did really good on my wax museum.
Thank you. Thank you. And then we have Olga, forgive me if I mispronounce, Lobasenko? Thank you.
Well, the kids clearly love their library time, so it's very important that they are heard on this point. But a point I wanted to make that seems as good as any time to bring this up in front of you guys is something I noticed at the start of the school year. I'm new to this district and to California, and really seeing children to their parents, both at the 12 o'clock release where the whole school is present and at the TK and kindergarten release earlier. This is something that I have not seen before. I'm from a different state, and something happened in that state with the Annunciation School shooting that brought this to my attention, that it doesn't seem to be so important if all of your lockdown drills are in place and the school is locked down during the day, if there's a certain time when everybody is released and everybody is present, and on usually very public streets. At least this is true for Joe Henderson, where my child goes to school. I don't know if this is true for the other schools. I imagine it's probably similar. I just wanted to bring this point of attention as something we might want to consider to see if there's a different approach that we could take, either releasing behind the schools or in another way.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. And we have another, so Michael Fernandez? Hi.
Hello, my name is Michael. I really don't want you guys to cut the library hours because it's a time where we can go learn and relax, so we can be free of our time and we can go there, read books, and be comfortable.
Thank you. So now we come to 13E and Sue Wing. Did we, so,
Sorry.
do you speak first or, yes, okay, thanks.
Okay, I tried. Can I say something really quick, Cece? Sorry, Sue, can you give me 1 second? I would really like to, like when we're talking when we discuss, I would really appreciate discussing E and F almost together, like just the bigger picture of the budget cuts. Can we do that?
We'll have to vote on them separately, they'll have to be discussed separately, but certainly if you have comments about them as a whole, you can certainly say.
Just start at E. Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sue Wing. I've been an employee at BUSD almost 26 years, and I've seen many changes through the years. I remember a time when this district did not have assistant superintendents. They were all directors. This was also when our student population was greater than it is today. I've heard that you've been told that we will not get qualified candidates if these positions are not labeled as assistant superintendents. But can you honestly justify the compensation expense to create these new job descriptions with assistant superintendent labels when we are looking at a decrease in student population? Both the assistant superintendent positions will be vacant due to retirements at the end of this school year. Wouldn't this be the optimal time to scale back to director positions again? I also want to speak regarding the layoff of the Director of Student Services. This position directly affects all the school sites. I'm speaking from experience how difficult it was before this position to enforce our district policies. Although there are many examples, I will give you one regarding district residency. Prior to this position, I would send out letters to families who have changed their addresses or who have given fraudulent residency. Many times, 3 or more letters would be sent without any reply from the families. The schools had no recourse to enforce our policy. Once the Director of Student Services was established, these issues were then shared with this department. I remember the first time I needed help with trying to get a family to respond to my many letters. I was told they, Student Services, would take care of it. I literally walked into our counselor's office, had tears in my eyes telling her that for the first time I felt supported. Our schools need to feel supported. The Office of the Director of Student Services supports us. We don't feel so defeated in our jobs with the Director of Student Services standing with us. This office has taken many hours to put together district manuals. Again, this is directly supporting the schools. I can attest that I use these manuals on a regular basis. If you were able to find a qualified candidate for the Director of Student Services, I'm confident you will also be able to find a qualified candidate for the Assistant Superintendent positions that should be changed back to directors. I'm asking that you take more time to consider the layoffs of our positions. I appreciate Dr. Calabresi's or Mr. Calabresi's comment to my letter this afternoon, and I do want to just say part of my comment back to you is that more than ever, I hope there's a position that you can move Dr. Ovick into. Otherwise, we will lose a gem if you let him walk away. Thank you.
So we come to item 13E, consideration and approval of resolution number 25-26-34 to decrease particular kinds of services of certificated employees. Dr. Jennings.
Good evening, President Grubbs, Board Trustees, Superintendent Calabrese, and the Benicia Unified School District community. The attached resolution addresses certificated positions that are to be reduced due to a particular kind of service or lack of a need for a particular kind of service as authorized under Education Code 44949 and 44955.
So before I call for a vote, I just want to say that, and I would say this to all of you, is that this is a very hard time in public schools for the reasons that Superintendent Calabrese stated. We are in such a situation, and public schools are all about people and all about students. And this is a heartbreaking time. And I can tell you that nobody wants this, no one. And we have agonized over what to do and how to cut $1.7 million out of the budget. So I'd like to say that I would like to say that I'm sorry these things have to be done. I am really sorry. So, that being said, our first speaker will be Lisa Wolf.
Are we acting on 13E first?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot the vote. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. You're good.
We're nervous, honestly. I thank you for, I agree with everything President Grubbs has said, and I want to add that part of our role as the board, it's really hard because we know you and you're our friends, but part of the role of us, of the trustees, is to give you a balanced budget so that we don't get into a giant hole in coming years that will require more drastic measures. So our goal as trustees, at least, and I'm speaking for us, but obviously correct me, is to give you a balanced budget where we can provide services to students, provide a great place for staff to work, a safe space for everybody to be. And I'm hoping tonight that as we discuss these two resolutions, that we can discuss the different options that are on the table and kind of go through our thinking and try to get to the best result. And I hate to say that because there is no great result. Hopefully, like President Grubbs said, the goal is really we have to cut a certain amount out of our budget. And so tonight we're going to try to figure out how to best do that. And thank you for all of your emails and supportive text messages. I received a lot today, and I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. both of you, so thank you. Should I start in with questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say that, you know, I would like to see more options on the table. And I would like to see, you know, in particular, I'm assuming that this is the area that we have to talk about the district office in terms of, you know, thinking through what cuts can also happen at the district office. You know, I am coming to this thinking about, you know, our students and making sure that we're forward-facing and thinking about our students. And, you know, can we look at cutting our curriculum position and with percentage points? Can we think about the assistants or the office technicians in the district office? You know, what are the areas that we can still think about cutting in the district office? So I want to put that on the table to talk about. Also want to think about, you know, have we looked at other alternatives such as electives at the high school? You know, the attendance or the number of students that are taking electives. Are we able to have more students in some of our classes to be able to, you know, not make more cuts? Are we looking at athletics? Are we looking at, you know, all the options that are on the table? So those are areas that have popped into my head as I've, you know, looked at these budget cuts and what we have to decide. So I want to put that out there. And, you know, obviously discussion, want to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate the questions, and looking at the district office and coming here, I did take a hard look at that. And in our ed services, and to Sue's point, 12 years ago, there was directors here, there was an assistant superintendent. The role and the demands are not the same as they were 12 years ago. The reporting process to the state, LCAP, LCFF, Williams Act, managing ELOP, our after-school funding and before-school funding, right? The prop music and art grants funds and managing that. All those things have come into play over the past 8 years, right? The FPM, Federal Program Monitoring, is a huge undertaking. The Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services oversees our other directors, right? And so to change that role to do a director role, then what do you do? And so do all those directors then answer to me? That's certainly possible, but the management of that and the day-to-day tasks become more difficult, right? I'm okay with that. I can certainly handle it, but it changes the role, right? And so I think we need to recognize that. But the workload of the ed services person, a director, to shift the assistant superintendent to that role would be extensive, right? And I did consider splitting it and doing away with that role. And I looked at other districts our size and saw what they did, and they didn't do that. And so that's what weighed into it. It will be uncomfortable cutting the director of student services. There will be impact, right? And so, but that role is easier for me to delegate to assistant superintendent of ed services, director of ed services, to myself, and in some cases to principals. I'll be taking on the supervision and evaluation of principals. That is done in this district by the Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services because of the shift in role to student services. I do have a background in student services for 5 years, and so principals can call me and talk to me about EDCO, right? And it's still gonna be impactful, right, no matter what we do. I'm just gonna say it, there was a perception in Benicia, I've heard it several times, that everyone has an assistant down here, and there are 4.5 assistants. The assistant to the superintendent, there is an office assistant in special ed, in student services, in maintenance and operations, and in ed services. And so I did take a look at those positions and see if there was any ability to cut there. With taking away reducing the student services position, it didn't make sense to also take away that clerk, that office assistant, because of the work that's going to funnel. That's the half-time employee also. And so there's still going to be work that's going to be funneled through that office, right? Interdistrict transfers, SARB, attendance, all those pieces, right? And so I looked at all of that. And certainly we can't cut a director of special ed. Can't cut our program specialist, right? looked at, our CDU is funded separately, so it would not impact our general fund there, right? And I'm rambling, so I want to, for those pieces, they were, I looked at each one of them and looked at restructuring it, and this made the most sense. There's impact to each one of it. The director of curriculum is what we do. We teach kids, and that funnels through that department. And the professional development is still expected by the state. There's targeted funds for that. And so that certainly could fall to the director of ed services, but that job is already, the capacity is already stretched, right? So I did take a look at all those pieces and consideration. I do want to say this, and this is not, I want to couch it. I have not worked in a district where I've worked in, it's the 4th district I've worked in 31 years. I've not been in a district where the HR department did not have an office assistant, or where the finance department did not have someone part-time at least doing that type of work, right? And so our departments don't. HR and finance do not have that type of support, right? They manage it themselves. And so in that, I also want to say that HR is not the same as it was 8 years ago, right? The AB, I'm going to get it wrong, 3428, I've blocked it. The Egregious Act, you know, Pat's role and her team have to check on every employee that we've hired and look at background checks of every district that they've worked at, have to contact every district, right? It's a tremendous load. And then the credentialing piece, the certification piece that goes with it, it's too important to not get wrong, right? And the issues that come with that are impactful. Again, I don't want to diminish from the other proposed cuts here. They're all going to have impact, right? And so if there is opportunity over, you know, one of the things that we've implemented is as folks leave us this year, we have put in, and forgive me, it's a hiring frost or a hiring freeze. And I know frost sounds like kind of a weird thing, like what are you talking about? But we pause. Do we need that role, right? Does it need to be filled immediately? And to put that into question. The other piece about the assistant superintendent of ed services and human resources, if you look at our salary schedule, from the low end to the top end, it's about a $6,000 to $8,000 difference, okay? And so if you were to make those positions a director, you're saving $16,000. And granted, that's $16,000, right? I do, and I appreciate Sue and I respect her, but coming from HR, I do disagree that what will happen if you make the HR position a director is that you're gonna get principals applying for it, not someone with HR experience. Not a director of HR, not assistant superintendent of HR. I've done it before. I've posted those types of positions and I've seen that. The same is true for ed services. You will likely see a principal in that work. And though in ed services, you might be able to find someone that's trainable, who's been a director or been a site leader. In HR, that's a steeper learning curve, and one that I'm uncomfortable risking. And so, and really what it boiled down to is the workload on those positions and then the savings piece. It's not as significant as many would believe. That answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I have disagreements in terms of I still do think that we need to make some cuts at the district office level. But go ahead, Amy.
Oh, no, I hear you, and I think it's been on our minds for a while, and I know when you came on, you know, we said, we want you to take a look at the district office and make sure we're appropriately staffed. One question I had was, in terms of, you know, in looking at the proposal, and I'm discussing them somewhat together, in terms of job loss, we do have some jobs that are being eliminated. We do have some that are probably just not going to be filled due to attrition, retirements.
Correct.
So if we think about the district office, and I know that the elimination of the director of student services it is going to be a big adjustment. I wasn't here when that position was added, but I remember hearing stories about before that position was added, and that there was a need for somebody to be performing those tasks. Are there any positions in the district office that might be able to be reduced? Have we looked at that at all? Because I know we've proposed some reductions to hours. I mean, I think that's preferable to eliminating jobs. But is there anything in the district office? Is there any room there? I guess is my question, looking at it as a whole.
Yeah, we can go back and take a deeper look at that as far as a reduction as opposed. In a administrative role, doing a reduction will be tougher, right? Tougher to fill anyways, right? In an assistant role or something like that, as an office assistant, that's something that can be taken a look at. You know, I did question and look at our director roles, our coordinator roles, and wonder if there was any savings that could be afforded there. And some of those roles are funded through other sources, right? And so there wouldn't be the cost savings that we need to the general fund, you know. And the other piece that we're up against is March 15th deadline, right? In notification, right? And so that's part of this. And I also want to say the way it looks in March is not the way it will look in May and June, and it's not the way that it'll look in July and August.
One other thing that I've been thinking quite a bit about, Trudy, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of our funding comes from attendance and, you know, ensuring that our students come to school, that responsibility lies on our sites. You know, and so that is what we need to ensure that we're supporting, what we're uplifting. I appreciate always Dr. Beatson's like amazing slides. We're always giving kudos to, you know, our team that are doing great work and our students that are learning. And I know that we have a lot of reporting to do, but, you know, is there ways that, you know, we can do basic slides and, you know, not make them as, I'm trying to think, if we reduce something by hours, where can that time be spent? Maybe not in making these like phenomenal slides or making sure that we do X, Y, Z, but we're just hitting the basics for reporting, because we're not getting paid from that.
Do a good enough job, you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
With the reports. I know it's the reports, it's the state mandates that you have to do, and then the reports go to the county, and then the county reads it, and the county will send it back if it's dissatisfied, right? So there are repercussions, I think, to having the reporting that might not be meeting standards. And Dr. Beatson, you are excellent at what you do with the reporting, and those are some big shoes to fill. I hear you, Yanni. I get where you're coming from. I keep thinking, well, maybe that's an area AI might be able to help, but I don't know that we're there yet. So I think that, yeah.
I do want to say the reporting to the state also could have financial impacts, right? If you're wrong about that, right?
And I don't want to just make sure I'm not like implying that anything, I'm just saying, you know, can we do make sure we're meeting our standards.
Yeah. I took what you were saying as more of the reports to the board, more of reports to staff, right? Can we streamline in areas, right? Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. You know, and this topic is about certificated and not the classified piece. You know, we had a budget advisory committee that we created this year, and we met with, and we're never going to conserve our way to saving $1.7 million, but some of the things that we talked about is paper costs, copy costs, right? Closing our doors when our heater and air conditioning are running, right? And things like that. And I think all those things are incredibly important. I make no joke about this, but the superintendent's office spends $5,000 in copy costs, and Matthew Turner Elementary School spends $3,500. So, right, we have to do something different here. And one of the things I'm going to ask of the board is who needs a paper copy and who needs it electronically, right? And there's a quick reduction right there that can happen, right? It's not going to save us $1.7 million, but we need to do our part, right? Part of this is a 10% reduction to site budgets, 10% reduction to district office budgets, and a 10% reduction in overtime. And so that plays all into this.
With what you're proposing, can you share a little bit about the 0.6, the school psychologist?
Yeah, Pat can also jump in on this, but essentially what we did and I want to be really abundantly clear, you know, when it comes to special ed, not going to deny services to students. It's the law. Regardless of how the federal government is acting right now when it comes to special ed, it's the law, and we're going to uphold IDEA. If it's in an IEP, then we need to follow it. And so we're aligning our staffing with the caseloads that are involved. And so, you know, I taught special ed students. My son worked with special ed students. My son was on an IEP. My wife's a special ed teacher. So I have a deep understanding of the need there. But we're aligning our services to the caseloads that we have. And part of that is looking at, so you see two special ed teacher reduction that is largely at our secondary level. And so what we're looking at there is we'll have some students that are leaving us and some programs that we can combine together, still providing the same services that we've had.
You know, I just want to make one comment about that, and that is that caseload may not look the same as workload.
Fair.
So it may look like a caseload is low, and yet the work is much more than it actually looks like. It doesn't always mesh, and especially in a school environment. People who work in a school environment, regardless of their jobs, tend to be more attuned to the needs of kids, students. I don't know. This is really, really hard. And before we, once we're done with the discussion at the dais, we will be going to public comment. Most of you have put 13F, which is the classified component. We are, right now, are talking about certificated. So.
I think that we have to remember that if we don't, we've got to get to the 1.7 million. And if we look at saying, oh, well, we really want to save this spot, it's not that the money will magically show up. Then we need to find somewhere else that we're going to get the money from. And as it was alluded to, you need to let people know by law by March 15th if their job is in jeopardy because of budget cuts, reduction in force. And the budget for the state doesn't come out until June. The governor will do a May revise, and then in June. But you've got to plan months before that for the worst case scenario. So that's what we're trying to do. And when we look at this, there are no good ones. And as you said, every single position will affect kids, will affect the job. I think we need to look at it that if we're not going to do this, then we got to find it somewhere else. And I don't know that we've found other spots. There's only, so much to go around. And it's unfortunate that you have to prepare your own budget, 3 months before the actual budget comes out, so you have no idea. And when you're guessing on a budget, what you're going to do is guess for the worst case scenario, because you don't want to be caught, short funds. So you're going to try to cut where you can and make sure that you're in the best shape possible going forward. So yeah, I agree. None of this is easy.
No. But one thing I do want to thank our union leaders, because they've been involved in the budget advisory committee. They have gone. They've been very present. So I do want to thank them.
Yes. I do have some concerns that we think we need to cut this much, but when the school year starts, we may have fewer kids than we are anticipating. We don't fully know yet what's going to happen with our IDAs. That is an estimate, and it could be a conservative estimate, knowing how that was calculated. Neighboring districts have to release their students to us. They're reviewing that year by year. We tend to look at that when students come to each different school site. So kindergarten entry points, kindergarten, 6th grade, 9th grade, which is still how we are estimating it. That's right, Ms. Barrington, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it could well be, and we don't know, that neighboring districts do decide to pull back transfers at times we're not anticipating, because under their policy, they could. So there is the possibility that we will be back here next year, doing this again. So I think that the discussion, Mr. Calabrese, of, other areas to look at we're gonna continue having that conversation. I don't wanna be a downer, but I guess it's just,
You're right, you're right.
I'm concerned about that. So it is important to me to do what we can tonight so that we don't have a worse situation next year, that will have bigger impact. I don't like to see anybody lose a job at all. I am appreciative that you have tried to propose reductions that correspond with attrition. I think that's wise. So.
That's particular for the certified.
I'm talking about the certificated, right? Yeah.
Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
So this is the certificated vote, and I'm going to read it again. Consideration and approval of resolution number 25-26-34 to decrease particular kinds of services of certificated employees. And for those of you who are here to speak, you'll be speaking in just a minute to 13F.
I'll move that we approve, or that we adopt resolution number 25-26-34.
I'll second that.
President Grubbs.
I hate to do it, but yes.
Trustee Hirsch.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi.
Yes.
Okay, now we come to 13F, consideration and approval of resolution number 25-26-35 to decrease the number of classified employees due to a lack of work and/or lack of funds. Dr. Jennings.
Good evening again, President Grubbs. The attached resolution addresses classified positions that are to be being proposed to be reduced due to a lack of funds, not lack of work. We acknowledge that our classified staff work incredibly hard, just as much as our certificated staff, and are proposing these and really looking to it, as I think Trustee Hirsch mentioned, working to reduce hours as opposed to elimination of positions. And it's a tough position, and I appreciate your careful consideration of this object.
Thank you. So now we'll come to the public comment. Lisa Wolf.
Hello. I'm here to specifically address I'm here to specifically talk about the elementary office specialist position. The office specialist is the first person families, students, and community members see when they enter the office. We are the front line of communication, safety, and support. Our absence with these proposed reductions will be seen and felt by the entire school community. We assist students, manage attendance, student records, respond to parent concerns, answer high volumes of phone calls, support administrators and teachers, and ensure that the daily operations of the school run smoothly. These responsibilities are already challenging to fulfill while assisting staff, students, and families throughout the school day. Our nurse's office logs clearly show the constant flow of students needing assistance throughout the day. In cases of serious injury, two staff members are often required, one to assist the student who's injured and the other to contact the district nurse and/or 911. A reduction in hours would inevitably diminish the level of service, responsiveness, and support that our students, families, and staff rely on and deserve each day, making it even more difficult to meet expectations effectively. In the absence of the office specialist, the office manager would be solely responsible for handling everything that comes up, securing substitutes, handling staff questions, managing equipment malfunctions, responding to phone calls, answering the door, assisting students, assisting who are dropped off early or picked up late, etc. We also handle sensitive and volatile family custody issues, and all while doing all of our other responsibilities all at the same time. This will create an issue of safety for the office managers if they're left alone, and also potentially for students and staff. At the elementary sites, there are only 2 staff members in the office. At the secondary level, there are multiple staff members, office staff members present at any given time. Having the office manager alone presents a safety issue. I would ask that you consider what would happen when the office manager is out sick. The office would be unattended by trained personnel for the first and last hour of the day. What happens when the office manager is out sick and the office specialist takes a lunch break? There will be no person present who is trained in first aid and CPR present to assist students and/or staff. No one available who knows the protocol for major injuries and when to call 911. The district nurse is at least 15 minutes away from each site, depending on what major injuries she's attending to at any one of our schools. A reduction in hours will place additional strain on an already busy elementary school site and could compromise service quality, student support, and the safety of our office managers and students. We respectfully ask that this proposal be reconsidered. We remain committed to supporting our district and our students and their families, and we sincerely hope a solution can be found that does not create significant hardship for staff or negatively impact our school communities. And if I can just say quickly, the comment about decreasing the curriculum to a director, if I remember correctly, Dr. Beatson was a principal when she entered that position, and I think she's done a pretty great job. So I think that's...
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexis Harmer.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alexis Harmer, and I serve the 966 students at BMS as their librarian. This is my 3rd year at BMS. I have a master's in library science and 10 years of public library experience in circulation. The proposed reduction in hours reduced my work time from 40 to 27.5 hours per week. This will result in students losing access to a supervised space that provides books, loaner Chromebooks, and the only student printer before, during, and after school. Students would need to take more time out of class, more so if they don't have access to a printer, Wi-Fi, books, or the public library from home. It would impact students who are injured and out of PE classes, on personal learning plans, and those that need accommodations for testing, quizzes, or in need of a quiet place to do their work. Students would also lose supervised space after school Mondays through Thursdays to finish assignments and to get help from our fantastic peer tutors at Homework Help Club Tuesdays through Thursdays, which I manage. If you truly want to keep cuts away from students and not lose equitable access, specifically at the BMS site, my time could be reduced to 35.75 hours per week. This cuts out my 15 minutes of prep before students roll into campus at 7:45 and fill up the library, and also for 3 hours on Friday, where I shared the library with drama class for 2 hours. This will protect students, but not lessen my behind-the-scenes workload. Given that we are a small school district with less than 5,000 students, with enrollment projected to decline, do we need to fill both assistant superintendent positions when they become vacant at the end of the year due to retirements? Most small districts get by with just one. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Lindsay Jump.
Dear board members, hello, my name is Lindsay Jump, and I am the librarian at Robertsonville Elementary. This is my 5th year serving in this role. I began during COVID when librarians hosted curbside checkouts to ensure students continue to have access to books while schools were closed. I'm here to speak about time and how valuable it is, and why cutting librarian hours could have a negative effect on all our school communities. Creating a welcoming, creative, and educational library space takes time. Time to build relationships, time to guide students to books that spark their interest, time to ensure every child feels seen, supported, and excited to read. Reducing our hours would mean limiting students' visits and losing the meaningful connections that happen in the library every day. It could mean turning away a student who forgot their book on library day, or a student who finished a book and can't wait a whole week to start the sequel, or simply needs a quiet place to read during lunch. At the secondary level, it also means losing homework help and a safe, welcoming space for students before and after school. All of this takes time. It takes time to help a child find the right book, one that can shape their relationship with reading for years to come. I think of one of my students who loves rocks and minerals. After I added a book on the topic to our collection, he checked it out again and again. Recently, he proudly handed me a small geode as a gift for the library. That moment represents what library time truly makes possible: connection, engagement, and joy in learning. Library time directly supports academics. When students have regular access, they build reading stamina, vocabulary, comprehension skills, and confidence. Teachers often share that curriculum demands leave little time for sustained independent reading or read-alouds. The library provides that opportunity. It's a time to slow down, find a book that truly interests them, and simply read. Beyond student visits, librarians maintain and update collections, plan engaging activities, organize book fairs to support our limited budget, and work to ensure every student feels represented. This work requires both time and consistency. Being the librarian at RSC has been incredibly meaningful to me. My fellow librarians and I deeply believe in the role our library plays in our students' academic success and emotional well-being, and anybody that works directly with the students knows and believes that as well. I respectfully ask that you reconsider reducing the librarian's hours. Please remember that when we protect library time, we are protecting the moments that help children discover who they are and who they can become. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Our next speaker is Kristen Woolen-Weber. Thank you so much for the pronunciation.
Hi, I'm the librarian at Mary Farmer Elementary School. I've been here for 2 years, and I just wanted to tell you a story. Last year, I had a first grader who wasn't excited to come to the library. During story time, he didn't seem to listen or care about the story, and he wasn't interested in checking out books. So I enlisted him to be my helper. Maybe he wasn't going to check out a book. Maybe he was just going to be my helper. Then, this year, something happened that I hadn't seen coming. I began reading a series of illustrated books by author Jory John to his second grade class, and he loved them. His favorite book, The Smart Cookie. How many times did this one child renew this one book? At least 5 times. Now he is checking out books every week. Now he is asking for the books I read in class in weeks prior. Now he is pointing to my wall display of books and he's saying, I want this book. Now he loves to read. That transformation didn't happen because he suddenly decided he loved reading. It happened because someone had the time to notice him, the time to keep trying, the time to match the right book to the right child. And that is what is at stake when library hours are reduced. When time is cut, relationships are cut, access is cut. And the students who lose the most are often the ones who need the most support. Our reluctant readers, our emerging readers, our students who are still figuring out who they are and what they love. Equity isn't just about equal minutes on a schedule. It's about making sure every child has the opportunity to discover that reading can belong to them. You're not just reducing a classified employee's hours, you're cutting into story time, into their opportunity to connect with text and become engaged, avid readers. Please do not let them lose access to such experiences. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Andrew Potter.
Good evening, board members and superintendents. My name is Dr. Andrew Potter, and I'm a school psychologist in the district. And as part of that role, I'm also a clinical supervisor of our mental health intern program. I appreciate how difficult these budget decisions are, and I want to thank you for the care you're taking in making these decisions. I'm speaking tonight because I don't believe my intern program has been fully presented to the board in the presence of our new superintendent, and I feel it's important that you understand what this program is, how effective it's been, and what would be lost if it were eliminated or compromised as part of the proposed psychologist time cut. Our intern program currently provides 13 days per week of direct mental health services across the district. That's equivalent to roughly 2.5 full-time clinicians. Interns are unpaid and supervised under my license as 50% of my job assignment. At this moment, our interns are providing ongoing individual counseling to approximately 100 students who would otherwise have limited access to mental health care. If this program were cut, those 100 students would not be served. This program is also central to student safety. Interns are trained in suicide risk assessment and crisis intervention, and they routinely bring concerns to me in real time. We intervene early before situations escalate to hospitalization or worse, tragedy. Importantly, we have data showing that this program works. Using the BASC-3 nationally norm mental health measure, students in our program showed clinically significant and statistically significant improvements in anxiety, social stress, and self-esteem. To put those outcomes into tangible terms, students who experience social stress, students who experience thoughts of suicidality found healthy coping mechanisms. Students struggling to get out of bed in the morning from fear of school found new motivation and a renewed sense of safety on campus. And students too afraid to talk to peers found new ways of relating and connecting. All of these outcomes, of course, have trickle-down benefits to attendance, engagement, and academic achievement. I also want to acknowledge, in addition to psychologist time cuts this year, that our district, in addition to the cuts that were made to psychologist time last year, this year our district will be losing a full-time mental health clinician, and 4 wellness centers will be closing with the ending of the one-time dollars funding those services. These losses already represent a tremendous blow to mental health services in our district. The current proposed cuts to psychologist time may compromise our intern program and only worsen the blow to students' social emotional well-being at a moment of crisis in our culture, with rates of anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, and hospitalization among youth at historic highs. Looking forward, this program is also financially strategic because through the state's KIBE initiative, we're now working to get reimbursed for mental health services. So I'm running out of time, but I hope that you consider that cutting psychologist time will directly lead to a reduction in mental health support for our students and the weakening of a system that keeps children safe. That being said, I respect the difficulty of your decisions. Thank you.
Joanna Folkwe, did I say your last name correctly?
No, but it's okay. It's a rough one. I printed this on scratch paper. Thanks. Hi, members of the board. My name is Joanna Folke. I currently occupy the position number 361, Student Supervision / Campus Supervisor / Office Support. I know it's a mouthful. I wanted to speak today to make sure you're aware of the job duties I perform and what the position provides to students and staff at BHS. My job title is 3 distinct but seamless positions that I believe each one benefits BHS and the district. Eliminating this position would be detrimental to the district, student, staff, and the community. In my position as student supervisor, I create a safe space for students who have been given in-house suspension. It allows students to not fall behind academically and for their parents to still attend their jobs. The supervision of the room also serves as a place where teachers can send disruptive students or students who pose a risk to themselves or the class, not themselves. I'm sure they might like to send themselves sometimes. That's not the point, though. Send disruptive students who pose a risk to themselves or the class to my room as a safe place to calm down and, more importantly, to stay in school. I am the go-to escort for students on the check-in, check-out, or a structured day program. My room is also a place for lunch and after-school detentions with a dedicated monitor, being me, so as not to disrupt the workflow of anyone else on campus. Parents are regularly messaging me to say thank you for the support, and they feel like they finally have a village.
As a campus supervisor, I check the bathrooms, the common areas, and check in with every student I come across. I run important messages between classrooms, etc. I work after school to support the arts, sports, and community gatherings that take place at BHS. I'm the only campus supervisor that has access to areas, and this makes my coworkers and my job much easier, as I can look up and report students' whereabouts, see their pictures, and be more efficient about finding them or getting them where they need to go. As office support, I work with the front office staff doing filing, Google inventory, Swiss data, and I also work with the PBIS team on both Tier 1 and Tier 2. The flexibility of my position that requires skill and responsibility is nothing but a win for the school, allowing me to be placed where I am needed that day. Having a versatile position that can assist in the office, out on campus, and individually with students is nothing but an asset to the school. Eliminating the accountability a detention room provides to students and teachers would create a less safe campus. The staff, teachers, and students cannot perform to the best of their ability without a position like mine. I believe eliminating this position altogether instead of considering shortening the hours to just the school day is a mistake. I hope you are hearing a trend among the speakers today that we all care about and connect with the students. We talk about providing a safe place for the kids. These positions are integral for the school community, and removing hours or the positions altogether only digs the holes deeper and leaves these kids with no shovel. The kids will notice the lack of support, and the teachers cannot be expected to pick up the slack. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cindy Crane.
Good evening. I'm going to try and slow down this time. So my name is Cindy Crane. I'm the president of MCSCA Benicia 1096. I stand before you heartbroken as you prepare to vote on decisions that will profoundly alter the lives of many of our classified staff members. As you look out at the faces in this audience, please remember who they are. They are the first to arrive in the morning and the last to leave at night. They are the ones who listen as students read their stories, who wipe away their tears, who put on bandages and ice pads, and who provide comfort, stability, and care every single day. These are not just positions on a spreadsheet. These are people. These are livelihoods. These are the adults our students trust and rely on. I am asking you to find another way. Please look beyond cutting classified staff to solve deficit spending. There must be other solutions that do not place the burden on those who serve our students so directly and so faithfully. Thank you.
Chase Soda Vigil.
Good evening, esteemed board. My name is Che Soto Vigil, and I am the library media tech over at Benicia High School. Thank you for your service to the community, and thank you for listening. This particular meeting offers challenges for this board, not unlike other school boards are facing. My hope is that the full scope of impacts of these cuts and reductions is being considered. Regarding libraries, I understand that it doesn't necessarily take a lot to check a book in and out. The value added by the service of our library techs is greater than what appears on our contracts. While we are certainly performing the essential functions of our jobs, please know that where we shine is how we build the libraries into special places on campus where students feel seen, heard, and safe to learn and be themselves. Librarians reach students across all grades and personalities and lifestyles. We also possess institutional knowledge that I can assure this body offers value that is not considered by the math of these cuts. Consider the accolades and progress that our schools have made, and just for a moment, imagine some of the myriad of challenges that students will face with severely limited access to these spaces. At the high school specifically, many students don't have access to a printer at home and go to the library before or after school hours to print. I wonder what the effect will be on our AP honor roll recognition and NWEA scores when our students miss class time when Chromebook swaps are limited. We'll also be curious to learn the impact on clubs and study groups and students who use the library for video conferencing, and the dedicated group who use it as a warm and safe space when their parents drop them off early or while they wait for their parents to pick them up. A quick personal account of my respect for the privilege of my position is that being able to live and work in the same town for these years has enabled me to embrace and invest in this community in a deep way. Having this full-time job provides me with the opportunity to volunteer my time as a coach in youth sports across leagues, multiple leagues, and has for years, which has helped me earn the trust and respect of young people and their families to enrich this community with positive learning experiences. If these reductions go through as planned, I'll be reflecting on how to augment my loss of income, which very well may reduce my volunteerism as well. I know that I'm not speaking from a position of power, but please ask yourself if our district has investigated every unique opportunity to mitigate these reductions. Thank you.
Sue Wing, I have your card up again. Oh, that was a mistake. Okay. Kelly Hughes.
Good evening. I have been a teacher at Joe Henderson for the past 19 years, and I'm here tonight to speak about the proposed reduction in hours for our school librarians. I urge you to reconsider this decision. When we think about a librarian, it's easy to think about someone who simply checks books in and out. That description barely scratches the surface of what our librarian at Joe Henderson actually does each and every day. She's not just managing a collection of books, she's cultivating a community of readers. She knows all of our students. She knows who just finished their first chapter book and is ready for something a little more challenging. She knows who's struggling with reading confidence and needs a story that feels achievable. She knows who's navigating friendship issues, family changes, or simply trying to figure out who they are. And she puts the right book in their hands at exactly the right moment. That kind of intentional matching does not happen by accident. It happens because she builds real relationships with students. She listens, she remembers, she cares. Through interactive, engaging read-alouds, creative literacy activities, and her genuine love of books, she pulls in even the most reluctant readers. Students who claim they don't like reading suddenly find themselves laughing, participating, and asking to borrow a book. That transformation is powerful, and it's foundational to academic success. In a time when students face increasing curriculum demands and academic pressure, the library is more than a room. It's a refuge. It's a safe and sacred space where students can slow down, explore, imagine, and breathe. It's often the one place in the school day where curiosity leads and stress subsides. The proposed reduction in hours of our librarians does not just reduce staffing. It reduces the library to an uninviting and unengaging environment where students simply check books in and out. It eliminates the time someone like Lisa has to make the meaningful connections I've mentioned. And it reduces access to guidance, encouragement, and a trusted adult who makes school feel inclusive and joyful for all students. Benicia Unified has always been serious about literacy, student engagement, and nurturing the whole child. We must protect the people who make these outcomes possible. A thriving library program does not run itself. It depends on a skilled, dedicated professional who goes above and beyond every single day. So I ask you to consider what message we send when we scale back one of the most impactful literacy leaders in our building. And I ask you to prioritize maintaining their full presence in our school. Our students deserve that. And Ellie and Anara, you've made your teacher very proud tonight. Thank you.
Joseph Roldan.
Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees. My name is Joseph Christian D. Roldan, and I serve as the Vocational Specialist, also known as the Workability Coordinator for Benicia High School and Liberty High. Workability is not a supplemental program. It is a structured workforce readiness program designed to prepare students particularly those with IEPs, 504 plans, and other employment barriers for a successful transition into their adulthood. My role bridges education and employment by providing supporting resume building, interview preparation, and the completion of hiring documents such as W-4s, intent to employ forms, and work permits. I coordinate career exploration opportunities, including job shadows and field trips to colleges and local businesses. Our students have toured UC Berkeley, Google headquarters, soon to be Toyota Vallejo dealership, as well as various career fairs within the past school year. It's these experiences that give students a clear and realistic view of an attainable career pathway after high school. This program also carries formal accountability. The California Department of Education requires multiple state reports throughout the school year, 2 of which are due during summer break, and mandates that each program serve and employ a specific amount of students. This collaboration is done with Benicia Unified's Human Resources Department as well as our business department. The state also requires that the coordinator attends 2 regional conferences per school year. Failure to meet these obligations would result in program termination. Most importantly, students gain real employment while still in high school. They build confidence, professionalism, and transferable skills, many of which are hired directly once the work experience has been completed. Reducing this position's hours would limit job placements, weaken businesses' partnerships, and most significantly impact the students who require the highest level of guidance and transition support. Lastly, the owner of Pure Hair Studios, which we are partnered with in the community, he emailed you last night in his support of this program. I encourage you, if you have yet to do so, to please read his testimony in support of this program. I appreciate your time.
Lisa, sorry.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you to my fellow librarians. I've never been so proud of such a strong group. And I want you to know how much that we work together and that we have a love for this job and are constantly thinking about how we can engage students. But today I want to talk about the elementary libraries and the need for their dedicated time each week, especially in the elementary school libraries. Elementary library is more than just a room full of books. It's a place where imagination grows, curiosity begins, and lifelong learning takes root. When students have a regular scheduled time in library, they are not just checking out books, they are building critical skills in thinking and creating relationships that will support them for the rest of their lives. If we cut elementary school library hours to 4 hours per day or 20 per week, student engagement time will suffer. There will still be time to, there will still be the same number of books to shelve, around 270 to 300 per day, process and repair books. But we won't have the time for creating, inviting displays that focus on grade level curriculum topics or highlight diverse or cultural events. Libraries are home for our school. Librarians create that space that gives students windows and doors and mirrors to see each other and see others. And we need time to do that. Librarians need time to create trust and relationship with students. It can't be done in 15, 20 minutes. If we have 20 minutes, that means students have time to come in, we check in their books, they find a book, and we check books out. We don't have time to talk or engage. And when we talk about giving a child a book that can make a difference, and I know you know that, they also want time to share that they read it. If I give a book to a child because I've read it, they want to come talk to me about it. And we can talk about what their favorite part was, or where we were surprised, or where we might have been scared. That takes time. It also takes time to build relationships with teachers. We work with teachers on curriculum, and where they don't have time, or maybe the books in their own libraries, we offer them where we are. They don't have time to talk about cultural events or other things, but I want to talk about 2 relationships that just come to mind. One is with Lisa Schroer. She's a 3rd grade teacher. I don't have time to read the first chapter every Friday, and I was talking to her about it, and she goes, well, I can do that, because we want to move kids from graphic novels. Not that they're not important, but to chapter books. We talked about writing and how kids are just into texting, and how do we create sentences and structure. So I work with her. Every Friday, we talk about what she's going to read in class and how many series and books I have that can encourage kids to read. And guess what? Her class is phenomenal. Like, we are so excited. I am buying more books in a series because she comes in and they knock them out. Oh, shoot, that went really quick. But anyways, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you reconsider about how important library time, especially in elementary school, is for our students. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elliot Petrowski.
You should not cut librarians' hours because library time will be shorter, so kids will not be able to pick out books that are just right for them. Kids enjoy reading just as much as adults, and kids don't always come to the library thinking, I know what book I'm going to read. The librarian helps them pick out a book by asking a question because they know the students very well. The librarian has time to talk to students and get to know a little more about them. This makes the library a very special place at school. That is why I think you should not cut Black librarians' hours. Thank you.
Marisol, I always mess up your last name. I'm so sorry. Sharifa? Yes. Oh, yay.
Hi, good evening. I'm Marisol Sharifa. I'm speaking today to express my concern about the proposed reduction of my position from a full-time to a 0.6 as the district's only occupational therapist. So I started back, I served the district back since 2001. So at that point, we had 3 occupational therapists, and now we're already down to 1. So I'm basically the only provider from preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school, and into transition. And I just want to say, I just want to clarify the fact that I know you've already heard it and said it already, but there's a difference between caseload and workload. Caseload is simply the number of students I directly serve, directly. It doesn't put into account the kids that are not on paper. But so I wanted to say my workload tells the full story. You know, my responsibilities include evaluations, which for some reason this year have been a ton. IEP meetings, documentation, collaboration with teachers, training staff, supporting with assistive technology, preparing materials, traveling between school sites, and just many more. In addition to the direct services, I also support the special education programs across the district. And that could be the Empower program at Matthew Turner, the RISE program at Robert Semple, the intensive academic program over at Joe Henderson, and then I also go to Mary Farmer, but there's a different program there, but I do go there as well. Sorry. This is a district-wide role that extends far beyond scheduled therapy sessions. It's also important to emphasize that students I serve are our community students. But there's only one student on my caseload that resides outside the district. Every other student, including all 39 students in the RISE classrooms, are Benicia residents. These are the students and families we are directly responsible for supporting. Occupational therapy is a required related service under California law and must be provided as written in a student's IEP. Reducing the position would make it extremely difficult to meet all these legal obligations and could place the district at risk for noncompliance, compensatory services, and increased cost. But most importantly, it would directly impact our students. Students who need support to write, to focus, to regulate, to fully access their education. This is not just about a position. It's about whether we can meet the needs of our students and uphold our responsibility to them and their families. Thank you.
thank you, everyone who, for your comments. And we come to discussion.
I was thinking a little bit more just about our previous discussion and a couple things that I wrote down. One was, you had mentioned about sort of the district office and professional development, and I'm curious to know if we have surveyed our employees about professional development and like what are they looking for. I know, we do a lot of virtual. I know maybe not a lot. That's probably an exaggeration, but if that's an area to consider in terms of reducing or cutting from the district area. The other thought I had is, have we ever considered having our half-days on Wednesdays to think about attendance? I don't know if, that's probably going to be very controversial, so I'm sorry to bring that up, but as we're thinking about unique ideas or out-of-the-box ideas, has that ever been considered, or everybody's smirking up here?
Historically, yes, it was. And what happened was the parents voted, and the parents wanted the Friday release time. So it was quite a
shift
discussion.
Got it.
And the board at the time listened.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Trustee Menanci, is one of the first things I asked when I came here. I asked everybody about sacred cows, and I was told that was one of the sacred cows. That
Got it.
Don't touch that Friday piece, and it was just as Cece described. But I see your point though about attendance on Fridays, right? And that turning into a 3-day weekend, right, as opposed to it being on Wednesday. And then also as a teacher, having a PD on a Friday or meeting with your grade level team or your department, right? That's also tough, right? And so I recognize your point there. Yeah, and well taken. I think there would be a lot of campaign and challenges with that, but I think it's something that certainly we could explore from the standpoint of an attendance piece. I think the first step there is to look at our attendance on Fridays and what day of the week is where we have good attendance and what days of the week where it's more challenging. I would also say that our principals are very, very creative out there in what they do with students on those days to encourage attendance, right? As a site principal, I tended to, on those days that were a struggle, which what my school was on Mondays, we tended to have a running club, and students would race the principal, and of course, they all won. And so it was a way to encourage attendance, but yeah, point well taken.
Yeah.
Do we know how much would be saved money-wise from the classified reductions?
Yeah, that's the total for classified reductions is $368,174.
And do we know, I don't remember if we did it, but by position here that we have on the list, do we know, is there a way to get that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me collect more.
I think, my main question, I think Che said it very well. Have we looked at every opportunity to evaluate the reductions? And so I was wondering if you could explain how we landed on these particular reductions, how the work will continue to get done, how students will continue to be served, how we can protect the safety of our staff. All of the concerns raised tonight, I share. And so could you address some of those questions?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And what we did was we took a look across the district about areas where we can cut. And one of the things that I heard loud and clear was that the cuts need to be balanced in salary, right? And so we looked at management, we looked at classified, we looked at certificated, right? The bulk of the cuts that you see here are from certificated at 43%. You already voted on, right? The classified cuts is 25%, and the management is 25%. And in relation to salary, right, we took a look at those pieces too. The other part of it was what I had heard and what I had seen from the past was elimination of positions versus reduction in hours, right? And when you eliminate a position, now we're talking about sharing sites, right? And that's incredibly difficult. And so
we looked at that and what the impact would be, and then looked at what the reduction of hours. And so out of those discussions came, and we talked to principals about this, about how that would be navigated and how difficult it would be and what's the impact. And as part of that is to take a look at, in reduction of hours, was looking at when students were present on campus, right? And so we have the adjusted Friday, right? And so could we make a reduction there and then look at the rest of the week and before and after school? I certainly understand the concerns around the office specialists as it pertains to safety before and after school. And I recognize that and the impact and the example that was given if there was an emergency, and that is impactful. And our nurses typically 15 minutes out. So all those pieces were taken in consideration as we looked at this. And it is incredibly difficult. I'm not going to be able to sit here and say that one is better than the other, right? They're all going to impact kids, and I also understand the impact to librarians, right? And the relationship that they build with students.
I have a couple questions, particularly around the libraries. So if I'm understanding this correctly, essentially the librarians are there right now when the students are there. Is that correct? So their hours are 7:30 to 2:30. Is that how that works? Or
Pat, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are there 8 hours a day. I'm sorry.
Secondary, the middle school and high school are there for 8 hours a day. The elementary, it varies. 3 sites have 0.75, which is 6 hours a day, and 1 site has 0.875 FTE, which is closer to 7 hours a day.
Okay.
And this would be a reduction to 4 hours.
It would be a reduction to 4 hours across the board.
Is there a reason why one site has more?
Historically, that particular site, the PTG, used to fund an increase in hours for the library media technician, and so it just ended up staying on the books that that site had a higher allocation than the other sites.
But does the PTG still pay for that?
No, that no longer we do that, because with classified staff, if you have parents funding money, giving it to the district, and then the next year they don't have it, then we have to go through this process to reduce hours or lay off. So at some point in the past, they changed that practice and no longer had PTAs or PTGs pay for additional staff.
I will say from my perspective, I do not want the library hours cut. I will say though, from the elementary standpoint, I think for equity, they all should be at the same hours. So I will put that out there that I think that all elementary school librarians should be at the same hours. But this goes back to my comment of these, for lack of better words, services are where students thrive. And this is where our students, come and get excited about the day. This is also, I also want to talk about the elementary school office specialist, because that's another role that, we had to read through our safety plans of our schools. These positions are vital to our communities. And I think that cutting those hours are gonna they help so much more than just what their set objective is for the day. So, yeah, those 2 areas in particular are really pulling at me.
For me, position 361, after hearing what that is, I know that position, being a secondary school teacher, and that I have a really hard time with the idea of getting rid of that. That position is, for secondary schools, it's really important to have somewhere for those kids to go that are struggling to be in the regular classroom at the time. That's worth its weight in, everything. Now, granted, this is the first 2 years of me working in elementary schools too, but from a secondary perspective, that position is, that would be a real big loss.
Would that work be covered otherwise? How would we have, I mean, we have suspensions on campus, right? You have to have somebody in the room. How would that work?
That's that person.
Oh, I know, but if that person's not there, what would we be doing?
Well, part of the challenge is that you have to have a certificated teacher involved in school suspension in order to collect ADA, right? And so that is part of the challenge. And so I recognize that that's the position that we have here, but we will definitely have to revisit how we do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Barrington, on that, but there needs to be a certificated person in the room in order to collect ADA.
That is correct. This is a classified position we're discussing.
Yeah, this is a classified. Is there also a certificated person in the same room with the person that spoke?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So we don't collect ADA for that position because they're classified.
We should not be. For the time that students are in there, because you have to be under a certificated teacher's instruction for the ADA to be collected.
And having that opportunity to have somewhere for those kids and for the kids in PE that are injured, that's so needed because, you know, otherwise there's nowhere to go, or the office ends up getting filled with those kids. And they're, you know, you have 20 kids sitting in the office, and that's untenable for the office people too.
So it sounds like we still need somebody to do that work, preferably certificated, so that we can collect ADA? Is that what
Or
I'm
we're just simply not
understanding?
collecting ADA. In other words, it's the
Or
same
we're
as-
just not
it's the
collecting.
Same as
What we're doing
in-school
now.
suspension would be the same as an out-of-school suspension.
And with what we're doing now.
I see, okay.
The advantage there is that you're keeping that student at school. That's the advantage there, right?
Back to focusing back on the libraries. I know we're probably going to be skipping around a little bit. Can you give me a sense for what the impact to the students will be? I've heard generally the feedback. I know based on my own experience with our librarians, I have an idea. But I'm wondering how do you envision 4 hours a day, or 5 hours, 4 days a week, and fewer on Friday? How do you envision that looking in terms of being able to provide services to students? I've heard comments that I think were good, that in our strategic plan, English reading is number one. So how do we continue to support our students with the reduced hours?
Yeah, and Dr. Beeson, jump in at any time. But obviously, the schedules are going to have to look different, right? And kids will be going to the library less often, right? And so, and I recognize the impact to our librarians in prepping and preparing, and they do amazing work. I don't want to take away from that at all. But it would mean either a grade level is going less often, right? Or upper grades are going less often. And so that would be impactful.
Do we have any volunteers that work in our libraries that might? No.
Volunteers
Oh,
cannot-
okay, sorry.
Trustee Hirsch, we cannot have volunteers.
Okay.
Fill in for classified positions if we were.
No, I would, oh, okay, so even shelving books would be considered.
If it's a job
Got it.
duty that's on a.
I hear
job
you.
description.
We have lots of
We-
volunteers.
That is.
I had to ask the question.
That is not an option. And just, I want to add a little point. Most of our elementary sites have about 20-ish classrooms. So if you think about the reduction to 20 hours a week of a library media tech, and then time for shelving and prepping for class visits, I do still think that it's doable. I do understand that our librarian, all of them do an amazing job and do so much more than just come in, check out a book, and leave. I've been in the library spaces and just know the work that they do. So, there's no way to do these budget cuts without having an impact on what services students are going to receive. Our approach was really just trying to mitigate as much as possible and still provide services, just, unfortunately not at the same level that we've been able to do it as a district.
But then, if the goal is for all kids to read on grade level by third grade, and we're cutting out librarians who help kids read and help them become interested in reading, then what happens? Because from experience, teachers are held to a very high standard, and everybody will always say, oh, test scores don't matter. But then the next thing is, if test scores go down, everybody's on you. You know, what do you do to make it better? What, you know, what, it's a conundrum, really. So my feeling is that if you are taking away reading time, and library is reading time, you cannot expect the same goals. You can't reach a goal. And if you are advocating for an unattainable goal, it makes no sense to me. It just makes no sense to me. Anybody else?
This is probably not something anybody wants to hear, but I mean, I was looking at our schedule. We have a March 5th meeting. If we're not ready to do this yet, if we want more information, I think, because we
Want to pull it?
we need to let people know by March 15th. We could push this, you know, table it until the next meeting and see if we can get more information and we've done that. I mean, there's precedence for that with other things, but, you know, have we really looked under every rock for, you know, places to reduce, you know, and money? And I mean, I'm going to toss it out there. I know everybody spent their time today, you know, coming out here. But you know, I think maybe we need more time to think about it on these spots. That's why I asked about how much money was going to be saved also. See if we can come up with something else. I mean, it's a thought.
How would that impact the timeline? I just want to ask, how would that impact the timeline?
It definitely impacts things. It makes for a tight crunch, right? And so obviously the certificated piece can be taken care of since you voted on that. And the classified piece is probably the most detailed piece, having lived that, right? Because once you do that and make those layoffs, and then you have seniority rights and bumping, and people need to be notified. So it's not impossible, but it will be incredibly tight. And I respect the position you're in, and you're the board. And this is your decision, right? And so my role here is to help guide this and the impact of this, right? It is, for classified staff, it's $368,000. I also want to say this, that your decision tonight, whether that is to push out to March 5th, or to make a decision tonight, that between now and June, we will continue to work to look at where are areas that we can cut. Most of those areas cannot be staffed because of the March 15th deadline, right? We've had discussions about Chromebook use and the monies that we expend there. Some of that's not general fund monies, right? And so we have to look at those pieces. But we can do a deeper analysis of where else cuts can be made. And so I do want to say that as we also don't know what, as I said before, the one-time money piece, and we don't know the enrollment piece. And that can go either way. And you had said that earlier, and you're absolutely right. And we're not going to fully know that piece until school starts, right? And so right now, essentially what you were doing and making a decision is to give us options to work with, right? And these are precautionary layoffs, right? And the intent behind that is because of that March 15th deadline. And between now and June, we don't know exactly what can happen. We can continue to work to look at other areas to cut.
When you say precautionary layoffs, what does that mean?
Well, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say precautionary, right? But we can look at, if enrollment increased somewhere, if we don't see the inters leave us like we project, then that money, it stays in our budget, correct? And so then we look at, I would be coming back to you, asking you, what are your priorities? What do we build back in, right? If we sought other grants, other funding sources, things like that, then I would be coming back to you, asking you, what's your priorities to bring back? And so we would look at all of those things.
Because I'm familiar from the certificated aspect, spending my career there, where a RIF notice is, you know, basically letting people know, we're letting you know that we don't believe we're going to have the money for your position. We would love to keep you, but we're letting you know before March 15th that as of right now, we don't know that we're going to have the money. So, and I said in closed session, I don't know that, these don't seem like RIF notices. These seem like layoffs. Like there's no, hey, if the money comes in, this is you're being let go, and then if something happens later, you know, then we'll redo. I mean, do they have rehire rights classified if they're let go?
Yes, and then it is, not so much precautionary, but this is, what happens is once the board takes action, then the HR team will work with CSCA to make sure that we're notifying the correct employees regarding the layoff. And then so that's like the heads up, like, you know, that we may not have the money to fund this position. And then they get the final notification by May 14th, where they get and the same thing for certificated
Yeah,
layoffs.
to RIFs.
So, yeah, you get the final notification that, yes, we are indeed following through on the layoff, and that notice goes May 15th. I'm sorry, it has to be given before May 15th.
The final, yeah.
The final notice is given before May 15th. So they get the preliminary notice, you know, heads up, this is what's happening, and then it's finalized by May 14th, it's actually.
Can you explain the difference between a RIF notice and a layoff?
Are you asking, or trustee Maselli?
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
So they're the same, right? So a reduction in force is exactly that. It's a reduction in the number of positions that the district is electing to employ. A layoff is the same. You're being laid off. It's the same thing. If it's different than a non-reelect where, you know, we're saying that this is not working out, but you do have rehire rights, but that was the question that came up. Whether you're certificated or classified, you're guaranteed a certain number of months where you can be rehired if a position becomes available. And for classified particularly, they go on a 39-month rehire list. If a position comes up or there's an increase in hours, we base it, we call based on seniority. You know, the next person, we have 2 extra hours, you know, are you interested? And then they let us know. All of that is detailed in the collective bargaining agreement around that process, so it's really clearly laid out.
I can see the difference, though, too. When you get a RIF as a teacher, you know that generally in the fall, if the kids are there, they have to have somebody in that classroom. So your odds, at least in my 32 years in teaching, the odds of coming back are decent, but they have to let you know. It doesn't seem like in these positions that it's the same. These are more layoffs, you know, which structurally you have to have a teacher in front of a classroom. Structurally, you don't necessarily have to have a librarian for all those hours in the library. So as we're talking this through, I'm seeing the definite difference there. I don't foresee this as being exactly like a RIF notice, because structurally none of these have to be. Whereas a teacher, you have to have a teacher in front of a class. So in the fall, unless you get less students, you know, you have rules about how many kids you can have in a class. You have, you know, it's contractual. So here, none of this, you know, as much as it would hurt, there's not necessarily, you know, I don't see the safety in these. Does that make any sense at all, what I'm saying?
I think I get it. You're saying that these are permanent reductions. There's not the opportunity to go back
These are.
Pat just said that they have rehire rights.
They absolutely do. Like I said, it's spelled out in the collective bargaining agreement. So I think the layoff, RIF, the outcome is the same. Someone is you know, not going to be employed next year, but they have the option. If hours become available or a job becomes available, there's a vacancy which they meet the minimum qualifications for classified staff, then they would be offered that position based on seniority. The same thing would happen with certificated. If for whatever reason we had you guys approved 5.0 certificated reduction in force, and if for whatever reason we ended up needing those, they would be the first people that would be offered back to be employed.
Okay.
And unfortunately, for the certificated though, we believe that we can achieve that reduction through attrition.
But when you're reducing hours here, how would there wouldn't be an opportunity?
If there are funds that become available, I mean, Superintendent Calabrese mentioned that if, you know, one-time dollars come into place or something happens where we have the opportunity to add back hours, the board could take action to do that.
I don't know what to say next, except that, you know, my vote would ultimately be no. So, you know, I don't know if that means we pool and we wait. I mean, I realize I'm 1-4, but I don't think we should move forward with this.
I agree. I'd like to table it and bring it back March 5th. I know that makes your life harder, but I think that I just, with my experience, I don't see this being the same as a RIF. I know that we're talking about it, but it seems a lot different, and you know, like you said, most of the certificated could be achieved through attrition. None of this is attrition. This is, you know, I mean, maybe we come back March 5th and we've exhausted all other options and we end up voting on it, but I'd like to spend a little more time, at least the next 2 weeks, looking at it.
Yeah, and if there are any other options, it would be great to see what those would be in a more concrete manner rather than discussing it more hypothetically. I know there are options. I'd like to see, you know, in writing, what are we talking about? And if you can give us some wiggle room where we might have options to make to meet what we need to cut, that would be amazingly helpful, because these are hard decisions, and I think we're all feeling a little bit backed into a corner. Maybe we need a little more information.
So we have a couple of
We have time.
options. We could pull item F, 13F, or we could take a vote.
Do we have to vote to pull it?
Yeah, we have to vote to pull it.
Okay, I'd like
But
to.
we need a motion.
I'll do that. I'd like to make a motion that we pull, is it 13 or 12?
It's 13F.
I'd like to pull 13F and to be brought back on the March 5th with more information. March 5th board meeting.
So, and I just want to, can I just ask a quick, but that means also like with more options or more ideas?
Right,
Okay,
with more options and more information.
I'll second that.
You were the second?
Yes.
And I suppose I still do a roll call since it's a resolution. So President Grubbs?
Yes.
President Hirsch? Excuse me, Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi? Yes. So the motion is to pull the item.
Yes.
It passes.
And to bring it back March 5th with more
Yes.
information.
Okay, so now we come to 13G, consideration and approval of resolution number, Okay, before everybody goes, can I just give a shout out to all the students that came and spoke? You were all amazing. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. Okay, item 13G, consideration approval of Resolution 25-26-36, release of temporary certificated employees.
Good evening again. Each year, the district employs a number of temporary employees to cover teachers on leave or in categorically funded one-time positions. Each year, the district must release temporary employees where there is no longer a position for them to fill or one-time funding available. This resolution before you confirms that employees listed will be non-reemployed or their positions are reduced effective with the end of the 25-26 school year, and authorizes the superintendent or his designee, such as me, to give notice, final notice to the employees listed on this resolution.
This is a standard thing we do every year.
Yeah, we do this every year.
I had wondered because I don't remember seeing this,
Yeah.
and I know it has been there.
It's been there.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And I think what you've also mentioned, like, the employees that sign up know that this is temporary.
Yes.
So I think
They
that
know
that's
when they
helpful.
take the job.
Yeah.
The contract that they sign actually says temporary contract.
Yeah.
And that they know it's for 1 year.
I move that we approve Resolution 25-26-36.
I'll second.
President Grubbs?
Yes.
Trustee Hirsch?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Manassi?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Dr. Jennings, you're here for a while. 13H, consideration and approval of updated job descriptions for Assistant Superintendent Educational Services.
This item seeks board approval of the updated job description for the position of Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. You'll notice that this job description adds duties from student services and some oversight of special education. The previous job description was from 2003, and so it really needed to be updated. So it's more reflective of the expectations for this position.
And this does not change salary or anything?
Nope.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. No, it does not. And I appreciate that very much because that was said in one of the emails. And no, it's just to freshen this up, right? And to be able to attract someone to the position and they fully understand what the position holds. And so, and the key piece here was to shift the student services work underneath as opposed to just supervising that, right? And then if I can just speak to the HR one, how awkward is that to have Pat talk about as she goes into retirement?
Yeah. At least she's
Again,
retiring.
That job description was also dated and needed to be refreshed and more reflective. And as the laws have changed and the reporting that is involved in that and the work that's involved in that position. And so it was also refreshed so that we can attract someone to that.
With no change in salary?
Correct, no change in salary or days.
The CDU piece for educational services, will that still fall under?
That still falls underneath Ed Services.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for asking that.
Will that be put on the job description?
Okay, I did go back and look at that. It's not spelled out, I don't believe. I didn't see it anyways. But there was a category that it would fit under, and I'm trying to remember what that is. I apologize, you had asked me that yesterday.
Yeah, I just think that would be helpful just to give the full scope of the role.
Maybe we could add that.
And then, go ahead. Did you want to say something? No, go ahead. I just wanted to make a comment, I guess two comments. One is, I do endorse and advocate your perspective of hiring someone at the assistant superintendent level for educational services and human resources. So I just wanted to let you know from my perspective that, I think we are making the right move with hiring at that level. And then the second comment I wanted to make was, that I do want to, encourage individuals within our district to apply. I mean, I think we need to continue to think about where we're going to go in the future. And so I think it's worth employees thinking about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the comments that were said tonight. And it was a different time. First off, Dr. Jennings and Dr. Beatson are unique individuals, and so replacing them is not going to be easy. And when Dr. Beatson took that role, it was a different time, and I think she would tell you that the role has changed in the, how many years? 10. I always want to say like 12. I don't know why. But, and so it has changed, and so and going from principal position to that position is unique, right? And we don't, not something that we see anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Have we voted on?
No, we need to vote on the job description of Ed Services.
And so I will add, so the job description will add oversee the child development program.
Thank you. And is there a motion?
I move that we approve the updated job description for Assistant Sup of Ed Services.
I'll second.
Hmm?
As amended.
As amended. Thank you, Georgina.
And I'll second.
And we come to our last item.
All those,
I'm sorry.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are we ready now? Okay. Consideration approval of the updated job description for Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources, Dr. Jennings.
I think.
Yeah, did we already?
And it's
Okay.
to align the two job descriptions so that they're similar in nature and are reflective of the duties for both positions.
What's Pat is not saying is HR's was 4 pages and Ed Services was 2. So we made it more aligned in that work, right? It is an equal position laterally in pay scale, and so the work level is also.
Okay, so I move that we approve the updated job description for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is 8:27. And our next meeting is Thursday, March 5th, at which time 13F will be coming back. So, thank you, everyone, and this meeting is adjourned.